Joining me now, Fox News senior strategic analyst and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, General Jack Keane. General, what do you make of this?
Well, first of all, I think we are heading towards a deal. And I think what's remarkable about this, Dagan, is that there really is genuine bipartisan opposition to this deal, led no less by the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Menendez, who's a Democrat, obviously, and he was opposed to the first deal. So, I mean, the concerns that we have, I mean, certainly people are not trying to be unreasonable here in terms of working some kind of a nuclear deal, but we know what Iran's behavior is like as a result of the windfall of money they received in 2015 when they struck the deal then. They received over $100 billion. What did they do with it? They used their Houthi proxies to topple the regime in Yemen, a government that was friendly to the United States and our allied partners in the region. They provided tens of thousands of rockets and missiles to the two terrorist organizations in the Gaza Strip, the Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. And they have fired those hundreds and thousands of missiles in the ensuing 6 years. And also, they took the Hezbollah proxies, and they attempted to encroach on Israel's sovereignty by establishing small missile bases in Syria, so much so that in the last 3 years, the Israelis have had to conduct over 200 airstrikes against what the Iranians were doing in Syria to encroach on their sovereignty. This is known behavior. And why would we think it would be any different this time when they receive actually more money as a result of sanction relief, and we know what they're going to do with it? This goes against the United States' national interest and the security of the American people as Iran goes about destabilizing the Middle East. It's a reality.
Well, General Keane, then why do it? Again, this is furthering terrorism. The United States and Europe are aiding and abetting terrorism across the Middle East.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so striking, and they blew off any progress that the Trump administration had made because I think largely it was President Trump. But the facts are, when this administration came in, the maximum sanctions had significant impact on the Iranians. Unbeknownst to the American people, the Biden administration stopped enforcing all of that, which is a tragedy in of itself, and never came forward to tell the American people that. The Trump administration had taken down Qasem Soleimani in January 2020. That rocked the Iranian regime. They were back on their heels. And we had the Abraham Accords, where finally the Arabs were stitching together an alliance with Israel against who? Against the Iranians. They walked away from all of that and went back to what was a failed deal in 2015. And they will impose restrictions on the Iranians as a result of this deal. But who trusts the Iranians to abide by those restrictions? The evidence is in, the Israelis established it, that these guys do what? They cheat. And they're likely going to advance their capabilities away from the restrictions of the nuclear deal, because that is who they are.
I want to, General, before we go, talk about the one-year anniversary yesterday since Kabul fell and the Taliban secured its grip on Afghanistan. You say that Afghanistan pullout puts the United States back where it started in the region when the 20-year war first started in the early 2000s and 2001. General Keane, tell us more about that. And just 97% of Afghans are at risk of falling below the poverty line. And that's according to a United Nations report.
Yeah, a year later, I still have trouble fathoming, what the United States really did. It started with President Biden's unconditional withdrawal with a date certain, which actually turned into an unconditional surrender. And yes, I mean, we find ourselves today, the Taliban are in charge, and they're obviously protecting the al-Qaeda, much as they were doing in 2001. We saw that in clear evidence when we killed Zawahiri, who was living in a Taliban house in the capital city in a Taliban neighborhood. Certainly the al-Qaeda organization is being protected once again, by the Taliban. And that's what I meant 20 years later. Now look, we've kept a lid on the al-Qaeda because of our presence in in Afghanistan all these years, and credit our soldiers and our intelligence service and the contractors who supported them, because there was never any subsequent attack on the United States. So that mission was accomplished. But the tragedy that we're dealing with now, the economic devastation of the Afghan people, walking away from their individual rights, leaving 80,000 people there that we wanted to get out, who are Afghan partners and hundreds of American citizens. I mean, that is a stain on our national honor to have done something like that. That's not the behavior of the United States. And that is why this administration's policy has been an accelerant for Russia, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, Iran, the Middle East. They saw what was happening here. They saw incredible weakness, which I think probably surprised them by the United States in doing what we did. It's really quite shameful, and it's hurting the security of the United States and the American people.
And, General, last year, Americans saw Biden's profound incompetence and how he will blithely lie about anything and everything. And his approval has been underwater since then. So net disapproval since August 20th of last year, and it's never recovered. General Jack Keane, thank you so much for being here always, sir.